What's up, guys? So, man, listen, I have to say this. That last video I put out about being rushed to the hospital, the level of concern that you guys showed in that comment section was indescribable. I mean, I couldn't even believe it, to be honest with you. You know, I'm just a guy that's on the internet, man, on YouTube, just talking about my life experience over here in Dominican Republic. And not just to harp on this situation or continue to talk about this situation because, I kind of want to move past it. It was a really bad experience for me. But there were some questions in the comment section that I would like to address because they wanted to know what the product was. They wanted to know who was my insurance company. They wanted to know the cost. And also there were some comments left that I kind of just wanted to kind of go over and address so you guys can understand how insurance works here. From my understanding, like I say, I may be wrong, but if I am, definitely always, when I tell you I stand to be corrected, I stand to be corrected, but this is just from my experience. But first, what I want to talk about is I want to address this comment that I seen that I'm gonna put here on the screen, and I'm gonna read it to you guys so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. That way we can kind of break this down, because sometimes I think people are really, they don't really have the right understanding about how things work when they're not in their home country. So let me put it up here and I'm gonna read it to you. I believe he was treated well because he has health coverage and he lives there. If you're a tourist, you wouldn't have been treated like that. They ask for money up front before they treat you. I know for people where it was horrible, especially my friend who broke his leg. They wouldn't even give him anything for the pain till he came up with the money. That's why I usually get travel insurance. The next comment from the same person: in most states, they can't deny anyone access to the hospital. Yes, you will get a bill. Everyone is missing that he had health coverage and he lives there. Totally different than my friend who broke his leg and they wouldn't take care of him till he paid. I believe everything came up to $5,000, and I also forgot the part of DR. I want to say it was in Puerto Plata, but I'm not sure. What I got out of that is that he's a good friend, because it seems like he really cared about his friend who broke his leg. So not laughing at the broken leg, but just the number of times he mentioned it. So let's kind of break this down just a little bit in terms of what he said. So let's talk about the first part where he talked about, I believe he got treated this well because he lives there and he has health insurance. And that if you're a tourist, you wouldn't have been treated that well. I mean, he's right in a sense. Yeah, I got treated the way I got treated. I wouldn't say I got treated well. I got treated accordingly because I did have health insurance, but it had nothing to do with me living here in Dominican Republic. Because to be honest with you, they didn't even know I lived here. I remember them asking me that in the end. They didn't know that when they was treating me whether I lived here permanently or not. So I know that's not true. The next point he said, in most states, they can't deny you access to the hospital. Well, buddy, you're not in the states, and there are no states here. They're provinces. That's one thing that people got to understand. You're not in the States or in Canada or wherever you're from. This is a totally different country. Things work different. And the last thing he said was his friend who broke his leg, they wouldn't give him any pain medication until he paid up front. Now, from my understanding, again, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of Dominicans watch my channel. Correct me. There are two types of hospitals. There are public hospitals and there are private hospitals. Here, they call the private hospitals private clinics. But for the sake of this video and not to try to confuse anybody, we're gonna call private clinics private hospitals. Public hospitals, anyone can access them and they treat you for free. Private hospitals, anyone can access them, but they are not free. So you're gonna either have to pay the full amount for services rendered, or you're gonna have your insurance pay for your services rendered, and based on your insurance plan, you may be responsible for whatever percentage there is. Again, private hospitals are not free, they're paid, meaning If you go to a private hospital and render services, you're gonna have to pay the full amount if you don't have insurance. Now, if you have insurance, then whatever your insurance covers, whatever your insurance don't cover, you will be responsible for that. And in my case, I have insurance. I went to a public hospital, meaning that I had to pay for services rendered. But since I had insurance, they paid a portion, which was 85% based on my plan, and I paid 15%. So let's get back to this guy and his friend with the broken leg. So what it sounds like to me is that his friend was trying to go to a private hospital to seek services. And if you do not have insurance, you're gonna have to pay before they render you any services. Now, you could talk about the United States and the states that can't deny you access to hospital. This is not the United States. And we can debate the morality of that type of, system. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's what it is. If you don't pay up front, they're not going to treat you. So you're going to have to pull out a credit card. They're going to swipe it. This is if you don't have insurance. They're going to pull out a credit card. They're going to swipe it to see if you got any money on it. Or you're going to have to pay up front. That's just how it works. Now, if his friend had went to a public hospital, he wouldn't have had to pay anything. They would have saw him, they would have treated him, and he would have been able to, leave without a bill. But the disadvantage of going to a public hospital a lot of times is, number one, it's overcrowded. And number two, depending on what type of condition or injury you have, they lack resources. So it may be a double-edged sword sometimes. If he had went to a public hospital, he would have been treated. He went to a private hospital and they want their money up front. I know it sounds bad, but the truth of the matter is, when he mentioned that the states bill you later, how they're going to bill a foreigner who's going to leave the next day. So you almost can't blame them for wanting their money. But again, like I say, we can debate the morality of it in another video or another time. That's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about how things work, and it just works this way. I just want to make sure that you guys understand, when you read things like this or you say things like this, it seems like people like that like to push this narrative about Dominican Republic. Because if I didn't know any better and I read that, I would think that if I was a foreigner or a tourist and I get injured here in the country, that they're going to try to take advantage of me just because I'm a foreigner or a tourist, and that's not how it works. So, guys, every time you purchase a flight ticket, they always ask you, do you want insurance? Get that insurance. And I'll be honest with you, when I used to purchase flights, I never bought the insurance either, because, you're there 4, 5 days, 1 week, you ain't thinking nothing gonna happen to you. And there's a possibility nothing won't happen to you. But when I moved here, it was mandatory that when I touched down here that we had to get insurance. If anybody knows someone who had insurance here in Dominican Republic, local Dominican insurance, and they were a foreigner, and they had an emergency and went to the hospital, and the hospital asked them to pay up front before they treated them, I'd like to know that. So if you know anybody like that, put it in the comment. And another thing I'll say too is, me and Jamie Gruber was talking about this, and when we were discussing what happened with me, and I thought this was very important, and I thought it was good advice. He was like, he tells people that if you're gonna come here to Dominican Republic and you're gonna live as a foreigner, don't get international insurance, because not that it doesn't work, but the way he explained it, I liked the way he explained it. And it was like, if I'm in a medical emergency, just say like I was in a medical emergency and the 911 was here, and I have this Aetna or whatever this international insurance, IAI, whatever that is. I just made that up. And I give them my card and I'm over here about to die. And they look at the card and they're not familiar with this insurance. And they got to call around and figure out, do the doctor or this hospital takes this insurance, versus you having local insurance like me. When they look at that card, they know right then and there, this is a local Dominican insurance company, and they know right then and there whether they take the insurance or not. So I think that is very important. If you move here, do away with that international insurance. It's fine if you're doing it for travel, but if you're gonna live here, get the local insurance. Talking about local insurance, I'm gonna tell you the insurance company that I use, or we use ARS Universal. The plan we have is the second, I don't know if it's the platinum or not. I don't know, platinum or gold, one of them, but I just know it's the second best plan that they have with that insurance company. And what we pay for that is equivalent to 185 US per month for a family of 3. I can't remember what that is in pesos. Maybe it's 9,000 pesos or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's equivalent to 185 USD. So that's what we pay for a family of 3. But also there are other insurance companies here also like that I would recommend. And I know people who have these other 3 insurance companies: MAPFRE, which is MAPFRE. Also Humano. I know you guys have heard of Humano, and also Sanasa. To me, those 4, including Universal, are the top insurance companies here in Dominican Republic, in my opinion. I've spoken to people who have coverage with all 4, and they've all said good things about them. So if you know another one, then drop it in the comment below. And another thing I want to talk about real quick is someone left in the comment section. They asked me, what did I learn about this particular situation that I just went through in the hospital or with the emergency. And outside of watching what the hell I put in my body and actually, staying away from supplements, reading what's on the label and all that stuff, one of the things that I learned the most is that you need to have a support system. If I didn't have a support system here, I would probably just been laying out on the floor. I don't know if I would have, died or anything like that, but I know I would have been laid out on the floor and just going through the motions with nobody to help me. And that would have been really, really a terrible and torturing experience. And thankfully, I had a support system here. My wife's family, which is my family, but I always like to kind of say my wife's family, kind of differentiate so you guys know who I'm talking about. Not that I don't consider them my family, because I do, and they also consider me family. But having that support system when you're here as a foreigner is really important, because you never know what's gonna happen. And not that your support system has to be Dominican, it can also be other expats as well. But definitely, I would recommend also having a Dominican support system, because you can get a lot of things done having that Dominican support system. Had it been, just say for instance, had it been an expat, not saying they couldn't have got me to where I needed to get, but being able to, unless they spoke Spanish, knowing the language and things like that, maneuvering how to get around, that type of thing. It's not saying that having an expat is a bad thing, but just having a Dominican makes it more easy to navigate and maneuver. So I think that was important. And also, what was going through my mind when it was happening is that I'm here by myself, and which I was, and I didn't realize until till afterwards. I could have just got over to the phone when it happened, when it started happening, and called the concierge and say, hey, call 911 for me. I didn't even think of that. The only thing that was going through my mind was, hey man, I'm here by myself. When I could have just went over to the phone before I actually got really, really bad, and just say, hey, I feel sick, can you call 911? And that may would have also, helped me at that time too. So having a support system and knowing what's available to you when things happen like this. And I think it's very important. And I'll say this here, my Dominican side of the family always have shown me love. And I've always appreciated that. They've always made me feel comfortable, as if I belonged. You know what I'm saying? I never felt like an outsider around them. They always made sure that I was comfortable. So that's another one. And just to end this one on a a high note, somebody also left in the comment, they said, man, I'm glad you're okay, but you missed out some of the most important details. He said, was there some honeys in the hospital? Hey fellas, when I went to that military hospital, listen, they were there. I know, like I told you, I was alert. I couldn't move, but my eyes was working. They were there. I would recommend you go outside when you get to Dominican Republic and just scrape your knee and go to the military hospital. Bite your tongue. I don't care, man. Pop your knuckle, whatever you gotta do to visit the military hospital. Find a way to get in there. Find a way to get in the military hospital, brothers. I'm telling you, find a way to get in there. At least when I went, they was on shift. That's all I can tell you. I'm gonna leave that one alone. So I thought that was the last one, but this is the last one. And I'll say this as the last thing. And I know I said I wanted to end it on a funny note, but let's end it on a much serious note. And again, I was talking with Jamie Gruber about this situation. In this same conversation we was having. And he said to me, and I thought, and matter of fact, I wanted to say this in the video that I recently did at the end, and I just forgot. And he said, when you were going through this experience and feeling like this, you say you were alert. He said, was there any type of regret going on in your mind as if, I should have done this, I should have done that, or whatever? And when he asked me that, I just stopped for a minute. And I kind of thought, and I said, that's a good question. And you know what I told him? I said, no. I said, because I am right with everybody in my life right now that I want to be right with. I'm living the life that I had designed in my head. I'm spending time with my wife. I'm spending time with my daughter. Even my mom comes out here and visit me. My sisters have been out here to visit me. My other daughters has been out here to visit me. So there is nothing that I regret. I wasn't regretting anything when I was feeling like that. The only thing that I was regretting is for taking those damn pills. Now, I'm not saying I don't have any small regrets like, oh man, I shouldn't have went to college and got all this student loan debt, or I shouldn't have messed with this woman here. No, not regrets like that. Things like that. I'm talking about real regrets. And I don't have any. And I would say this, if you can get to a point in your life where if you feel like you're almost about to leave this earth and the only thing you can think about is why you took those damn pills and nothing else, like, I wish I would have spent time with my family. I wish I would have told this person I love them. I wish I would have did this. I didn't have any of that. I didn't. I'm living the life I want. So until then, guys, remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're going to live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.
Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, no.